Welcome to the Undercovers football podcast. I am Ben along with Connor and Paul, and we are just under 3 months until the start of the regular season. Things are really starting to hype up in football. We had media day for the Bills and various other NFL teams, some major storylines, but we're going to continue our AFC East uh, positional rankings. So, first of all, how are we doing tonight? Paul and Connor. I know, Connor, you're a little revved up because of that race yesterday.
It's Victory Monday.
Right?
Get it.
Well, you're in the football mood already, I guess, with the Victory Mondays. So a couple more months until we'll begin the Bills Victory Mondays.
Yeah,
Man,
it's a
Bill's
new
Victory
version.
Mondays are the best.
It's a new version of Victory Monday. Well, I shouldn't say new. It's a different version of Victory Monday. This Victory Monday behind me is the one that always got me going all the time throughout the week, especially at Sonoma. You can't tell me a thing this week when my favorite driver wins at Sonoma.
But just wait until the first Victory Mondays this year with Josh Allen to Keon Coleman and then Terrell
Tell me about
Bernard and Teron Johnson
know
Big
what?
Dubs videos after the game.
Yes. You know what? You said it, Ben. I need a Terod Johnson interception to win a game more than I need air to breathe. If that happens, I will scream.
And I
will.
need Keon Coleman to either have a OBJ type touchdown to win the game or a D-Hop type
Yes.
touchdown to win a game. And just
Neither.
absolutely
Hell yeah.
moss
Neither.
someone.
Neither. Have an Antonio Brown type touchdown to win the game. And I don't mean Buccaneers Antonio Brown. I mean prime Pittsburgh AB. He catches a ball. Nobody in any open space. Keon runs into the end zone and just immediately jumps on the goalpost and just hugs it.
That would be epic too. I'm sure we're going to get that.
I got to see that happen. Now that I've mentioned it, I need to be like, let me just slide into Keon Coleman's DMs and be like, hey, Keon, can you replicate this on your first touchdown, please, in Buffalo? But yeah, we have some very interesting things planned for the evening, and I believe that is going to start with our AFC East defensive positional rankings. This is going to be a wild one because everybody knows I have a few favorites on this list. So, Ben, start us off. Take it away with the first positional group, which would be, as we have it on, at least I had it on my tier maker. Do we want to start with quarterback rooms?
That's what I got in my tier maker as well. So
all right, start us up.
That's what I'll go with. Okay, so corners, I feel like this is actually on the defensive side, possibly one of the more talented position groups across the board. And I think we're probably going to get a lot of variance as far as our different rankings. So number one, sorry, let me pull mine up.
Yeah, you pull that up.
Number one, I have the New York Jets. And this one I feel like is probably going to be pretty unanimous across the board, or at least it should be. Oh, sorry, I can't speak. Unanimous. That's a hard word. Unanimous. That's going to be a unanimous. I tripped. That's going to be one we all have across the board. I feel like we should all be in unison about the Jets having the best room, just because as much as some of us may like to hate on him, Gardner does have back-to-back first-team All-Pros to enter the league, which is very impressive. Carter II and DJ Reed are also above average and borderline like top 10 corners as well. So they arguably have the best probably cornerback room in the league, if we're being honest. And then number two, which might kind of be biased, but I think it would be biased if I put them above the Jets. But I feel like number two is very fair, especially where you consider where Christian Benford played his first 2 years, how Douglas came on, and then Johnson being a second-team All-Pro in the slot. So he's one of the best at his positions in the league. And then obviously,
the best.
Right. And then obviously you got Elam with supreme upside, and us getting a new DBs coach. And then there's other interesting pieces like Daquan Hardy and Jamarcus Ingram. I would potentially like to add another corner, but I think the Bills, just when you just look at the top four, besides the Jets, they're probably the best overall. Number 3, which might be slightly more controversial, but I'm actually going with the New England Patriots because between Jonathan Jones and Christian Gonzalez, I feel like they have some pretty good talent there at the cornerback position, and then Alex
Okay.
Austin, who obviously is a former Bill, and then Marcus Jones. Do we forget about what Marcus Jones did in his rookie year? Supreme upside and talent. So I feel like between Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, Alex Austin, who was a former Bill, that's a pretty solid core to me. And just because of Gonzo's age, I'm taking him above Ramsey. As much as I like Ramsey because he's a Knoll, but I actually think Miami has a pretty good corner room. I'm taking Gonzalez and then the Joneses and Austin above Ramsey, Kohu, and Fuller's good, but Cam Smith is unproven. So I'd like to hear your guys' rankings on this one now.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn now. If we're going in the same order that we went last week,
Sure, go
so
ahead.
so I'm gonna start from the bottom like I usually do. Start from the bottom, go all the way to the top. So my bottom is probably the controversial take here, and that would actually be the Patriots cornerback room. I really like them. I really think Christian Gonzalez has a lot of potential, especially remember that first game against Miami where he had that interception of Tua that
He has
actually
upside to
he
like.
does.
Can we just talk about his potential upside to be the best overall corner in the division?
No.
Like that's how good Gonzalez is.
Good, but Teron Johnson exists, so stop it.
Well, I mean like outside corner. I don't mean slot because they're
Yeah.
honestly almost like a different position, but still, I
I
guess
mean, you're
Johnson.
not really wrong. I mean, you're not. But
Right.
moving on, I really like the potential that the Patriots cornerback room has, but I definitely don't think they're better than what is the proven cornerback room with the Dolphins cornerback room with Jalen Ramsey, Cater Kohu, Darth Cater, as he's called in South Florida. And
Right.
then Cam Smith will get his playing time at last under a new defensive coordinator. Thank heavens for that if you're a Dolphins fan, because everybody was begging for Cam Smith to start games last year because Eli Apple was stinking up the joint. If he was still on the team, I would have probably put them dead last because Eli Apple is not good. And we all know this. But I actually am ranking the Dolphins cornerback room third because
Okay.
I think the Bills cornerback room is just slightly better. I think, Christian Benford is going to be one of those names that nobody knows about right now, but everybody's going to know about in the future when he starts tearing up the league. And then obviously Rasul Douglas is just him. He did really, really well when he came into Buffalo, and now he's going to have a full season to fully get behind Buffalo's defensive scheme. That's something that I think not really many people have talked about is the fact that now Rasul Douglas is going to have a whole offseason to kind of study up and meld himself into Buffalo's game plan. And then there's Teron Johnson. I don't need to say anything else because everybody that follows me knows that I am Teron Johnson's biggest fan. And I could say too much about Teron Johnson. But yeah, I hate to say it, but I still think the Jets have the best cornerback room, despite the whole Merchant Sauce Gardner being on their side of the ball. All around, they're just too good. Sauce is good. DJ Reed is really good. I mean, they're a threat they're a threat in the defensive backfield, and you always have to be kind of careful for them. All right, moving on. Paul, give us your takes. Give us, and try not to be too crazy this time. You got the people on TikTok pretty riled up when you started posting on there.
Yeah,
I'm interested
a
to
lot
see
of
what the
people.
people of TikTok said.
They were
A
flaming
lot of
Paul a
people
lot.
had a lot of people on TikTok during the week had their interesting shares of takes on the Bills and
they were flaming you quite a bit, Paul.
I seen them. All right, we're gonna start with I go 1 to 4, just like Ben. You and Connor, you just go backwards for some reason. But
when we zig, Connor has to zag. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
At 1, I want to say the Bills had the best cornerback room.
Okay, I like it.
AFC
I like it.
Teron Johnson, the GOAT.
Right. I mean, you have Teron Johnson, but then you're going to have
Christian Benford, another
GOAT. 1-2 combo with Benford and Douglas. I mean, Benford could be your cornerback 1 and Douglas could be your cornerback 2, or they can just completely flip-flop and Douglas is your 1 and Benford is your 2. And either which way, they're still going to dominate a game the way that they do, because Christian Benford has been everything that, just a hidden diamond in the rough. And he's just emerged into a really, really good cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. And then another a full off season, with Douglas. And then, he dominated against the Patriots and the Jets toward the end of the season last year. At number 2, I have the Miami Dolphins. I feel like they just have a good cornerback room as a whole. I mean, if you compare them to the Jets, who have them at 3, it's, they have their top 3 and it kind of fades out. If you look at the Miami Dolphins cornerback room as a whole, they have their top 3 and they have some really good, solid depth pieces. That's why I have Miami 2, Jets 3, and then the Patriots fall to default at 4, just in order of the order. I mean, they have a really good young cornerback room. I mean, both of you guys just discussed it, with Christian Gonzalez and everyone else, but that Patriots room has some sort of potential that it could possibly steal some games for them down the road.
So my only main comments are, do you really think that Kate or Kohu would be considered the top 3? But even that I think would be one of the worst corner 3s in the division. But out of Nick Needham, Storm Duck, Cam Smith, Ethan Bonner, and Saran Neal, do you really trust any of those guys versus the Jets options?
Hey, now, do not disrespect the GOAT, Ethan Bonner, okay?
What about Storm Duck?
Hey, Storm Duck will be a name that people know about in the future, except when he's getting lost by
So,
Keon Coleman.
mean, I'll say this. We saw last year when both Sauce and DJ Reed were out against Philly, the Jets backups kind of play between Brandon Eccles and the other guy they have, Braden Codrington. Now they drafted Quantez Stiggers. So that's an interesting pick. I'll just say, Paul, I know you might like Miami just because the names are more recognizable, but I think the Jets, I like the Jets depth more than Miami by a fair amount, actually. I don't trust Saran Neal. He's a special teamer. Storm Duck. Who? Nick Needham. Who?
Hey, don't you say who about Nick Needham.
That's the first time I've heard of Storm Duck before. But that's kind of a cool name. If you just want to deep dive on names.
Hadn't been played yet.
Cam Smith.
Has not played yet, and that's because Vic Fangio is an old head.
Or was he just not good enough to earn playing time over Kate or Kohu?
Eli Apple was on the team, Ben. Eli Apple was on the team.
So is that a bigger indictment against Cam Smith that he couldn't play over Eli Apple?
It's Vic Fangio.
Let's move on to safeties, because this one might get even more controversial. And actually, I'm going to make a change right off the bat to my safety discussion. I'm actually going to make a splash here because I had a certain team number 1, but after doing a little more analysis, I feel like I had them a little bit ranked too high. So at number 1 of my safeties now, who are originally number 2, is the New England Patriots. I believe they have the best safety room in the division because with that 1-2 combo, you can argue that Duggar is probably a top 2 starting safety. Then you have Jabril Peppers, who is actually, I know he kind of was miscast early in his career, kind of as like a hybrid linebacker, whatever, punt returner, but he's a pretty good safety. He's turned into a pretty dang good safety. And him,
what a name.
Next to Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, that is a very good safety combo. And then they also have Jalen Hawkins and Brendan Schooler.
Mm-hmm.
So I like, and then Marty Mapu, they have on the depth chart as a linebacker, but they drafted him as a hybrid safety too. So we'll see what they end up doing with him. But I really like New England's safety room. Actually, number 2 is Buffalo, and this might be controversial, but I think
we have any.
Yeah, we actually have safety depth. If you want to talk about an interesting room, now this is kind of with an interesting caveat. The talk of OTAs has been DeMar Hamlin. He's been making play after play, and I think it's pretty reasonable to expect a player to kind of, take a little bit of time to come back from a cardiac arrest and, such a traumatic experience like that. But let's not forget when Micah Hyde went out 2022, DeMar Hamlin was quickly proving to be a very effective safety. And if he can get back to playing like his 2022 level, you also have Mike Edwards, who's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Say what you want about Taylor Rapp, but he had the division ceilings pick down in Miami
on the division.
Exactly. And he has now another full year learning the defense. I already mentioned Cole Bishop, who's like the perfect piece in this defense. And then you have some interesting names like D. Delaney on the depth chart as well.
Yes.
So when I look at all those names overall, I think it's going to be a very intense competition, and I think we're going to keep 5 safeties. So I really like the Bills' safeties. The starters might be a little questionable, but I think there's a lot of talent in that room. Number 3, I'm going Miami, and here's the big caveat. Javon Holland, you could say, is the best safety in the division. That is, I don't think is really a hot take. But to me, when I compared Holland and Duggar, I think they're both up there. But who would you rather have, Jabril Peppers or Jordan Poyer in 2024? I think it's a pretty, easy question to me, especially us Bills fans seeing what Poyer was last year.
Washed.
Yep. So I would rather take Peppers than Poyer. And obviously Miami's safety depth is even more questionable. Patrick McMorris, Elijah Campbell, Mark Perry, and Jordan Colbert. Who?
Yet another Dolphins legend that you keep disrespecting, Ben. Stop it.
Who?
Oh man, the name just slipped my mind. I know it was on my head, and then I was thinking of something else.
Oh, he was so good, you forgot about him. Great.
Yeah, exactly. So good, I forgot.
Is just who? Chuck Clark, Tony Adams, Ashton Davis, Isaiah Oliver, Jalen Key, Jarek Bernard Converse, Jarius Moore, and Al Blades Jr. A lot of nobodies. As great as that corner room is, that safety room is bad.
Now he's just spitting out names. All right.
I feel like this is like AI generated players at this point.
They're Madden generated players. Yeah.
Storm Duck. That's where we're starting with the AI generation. Storm.
It's not AI.
It's a cool name. I like the last name.
It's not AI generated, guys. It's Madden generated. It's the NFL. Come on now.
All right.
It's okay.
Now I'm interested to hear where Connor goes with this.
All right. Well, I'm about to make some people very, very mad with this, but I'm going for it anyway. So my bottom tier for the safeties is the Jets safety room.
All right. We are in agreement.
We're in agreement there. Okay. We're in agreement there because the whole of the Jets safety room is like, wait, who are these guys again? Like they have all their notoriety on defense from their defensive line and their backfield, not so much the safety room.
Right.
So nothing much needs to be said. Moving on, I actually need to also make a switch. I had these teams 2 and 3, but I need to switch the order here because you reminded me of a few things, Ben, that I hadn't had the time to necessarily think about and get ready for the show. So my 3 actually is New England. I mean, they
Okay.
have really nice depth, and it's a really good safety room. But I definitely think that Buffalo's is way better than theirs, and that's just on depth alone. I mean, I have a
Okay.
lot of
No, I
confidence.
think we have the best depth. I think if you're going to talk about depth, the Bills win because D. Delaney,
Yeah, that's
either
who I was
Rapp
about to say.
or Bishop, and then you
It,
got Hamlin
yeah,
and Lewis.
exactly. And if the see, here's the thing, right? This is for everybody watching and both you to understand, and this comes from me watching football for way, way longer than either of you. Never, ever, ever take into consideration that somebody is going to have a breakout season just because they look good in OTAs. You can have all of these talks all you want about, oh man, this guy looked really, really good in OTAs. OTAs are one thing, game time is something else. So until Damar Hamlin actually proves it in the field instead of being some random kick return guy for no reason on a fake punt, I'm not gonna
Well, even
necessarily
without
hold any
Hamlin, you
stock
still
to it.
have Rapp,
Oh,
you
yeah, no,
still have
exactly.
Bishop, you still
Oh,
have
I
Delaney,
I was going to mostly talk.
Edwards.
I was making that comment too about Chase Claypool because everybody's all like, Chase Claypool, wide receiver 1. Stop it. Just because he
Hmm.
looks good in OTAs does not mean he's going to be good on the field.
I
But
I want Claypool to make the team and perform just to see what your reaction will be when it happens because
yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah,
epic.
did you see that short I posted last week when Kyle Larson got wrecked by Kyle Busch at Gateway? It'll be exactly that with my head in my hands like this, going ugh. Because then I'm gonna have to eat all
Uh,
those words about Chase Claypool not being good. But anyway, that would then mean that I have the Miami Dolphins safety room is the best in the division, and I think it definitely 100% is. Javon Holland is a freak, and I think him alone is actually he's on that level of safety that he's good enough to where it can mask a lot of the issues that they have at depth. I mean, Jordan Poyer is not the same Jordan Poyer, but it's still Jordan Poyer, and he was. It's like we were talking about with Damar Hamlin earlier. Dolphins fans, the ones at least that I know, the where I'm still in their circles, they
I
were
would rather
talking.
have Damar Hamlin in 2024. Kill
I
me.
no, but anyway,
Yes.
no, I meant as in kill
Oh,
you. No, anyway,
I'm
they
saying,
were all
but
talking about Jordan Poyer looking really good in OTAs. As a matter of fact, he actually had the Dolphins orange jersey, which was the top performer for the day in the
isn't
last session.
orange technically like the no contact though?
No, it's red.
It's
They're
red.
yeah,
Okay.
it's red. They have a red
Oh,
no contact jersey, and then they have an orange jersey that they dedicate to one player who was the best performer in the
they
previous
also
day.
hold their meetings at the 24
Yeah, we all know
minute
that.
past
Talk
the hour. So
yeah,
that is one of
we
the
all
corniest
know.
franchises that ever exists. And
Trust me, yeah, we're all aware of this.
what's
We're all
worse,
aware of this, Ben.
the playoff drought or the fact that Mike McDaniels has more wins with the Panthers than he
Both.
does with the Dolphins in the
It's humorous.
playoffs?
It's humorous actually, but it's
It is
actually
pretty sad, but
I said that
it is
I said this.
hysterical.
I said this earlier, and
Imagine the whole narrative if the best South Florida sports team is the one that literally 90% of their fan base doesn't care about hockey. It's not even like a
wrong,
Floridian sport.
wrong,
What?
wrong. It is hockey is the Floridian sport.
Over baseball?
Yes,
I
the
mean, I guess
Marlins
people
suck.
don't I get it. People don't, but it's just like I feel like as far as I don't know.
Listen, Ben, take it from somebody who's been around the area for a long time and knows. The sport now in Florida is hockey. The Lightning
Because it's
have
the
been
only team
ruling.
those
Yeah,
are the only teams that are good. Let's be honest. Like
no,
the
you're right.
Marlins
Okay,
stink, the Rays
The
stink,
Marlins
the
suck.
Heat
right.
can't get it together.
Don't remind
The
me.
Magic always show promise but can't win a playoff series.
Nope.
And yeah, I don't know, it's a
I
sad
mean,
You
existence,
know,
but
and you know what
let's
the
get to
funniest thing is?
Paul because
I
we're
do.
starting to
I am
cook.
going to say one more thing because you had to say this and forgot. You actually hit the nail on the head for how a lot of people in the Miami area think of the Dolphins. They don't. You think
Good.
of anybody in that region will always think of the Heat first. The Heat the Hurricanes, the Panthers, then the Dolphins. Promise you. All right, Paul, take it away. I just had to get that piece out as, obviously the guy that might know a thing or two about Floridians.
The Florida Panthers only have fans because they're good. I'm just going to put that out there. Before then, they couldn't get anyone in the arena. I mean, you think of a Sabres Florida game.
Let them cook. Let them
You
cook.
think of a Sabres Florida game. It's still even while Florida's good, it's still filled with Sabres fans.
Yep. Let them cook.
I mean, that's where I want to go. But back to the cornerback room and football talk. Sorry, safety room. I'm gonna start the safety room by saying
Javon Holland is the GOAT.
My 1-2 was Ben's old 1-2. And with the points Ben made, I mean, there's no reason for me not to keep my 1-2. I mean, because it makes perfect sense, way he lays it out, way you laid it out, Ben. And it just makes the Miami Dolphins room and me saying the Miami Dolphins have the best safety room just look absolutely dumb. So we're switching it. Patriots 1, Dolphins 2. We're making the switch. And that will lead me
Patriots.
to... Then we're going to go to the Bills at 3. I want to keep them there. I think they have potential to be number 1. They just have to prove it. And with the questions that we have, they just got to prove it. And if they prove it, they're the best safety room. If they don't, well, then there's going to be a question later down the line. And then we, as to long length, discussed the Jets at number 4. Just who?
Right. It's like you don't really have much more to say.
Yep.
So now I guess we'll move on to D lines. And this one's I guess interesting because like you could kind of split it up between like edge rushers, pass rushers, whatever, D tackles. But just for the purpose of this, I have all of them. I have them classified together. So D line as a whole. And I guess with the linebackers, you could kind of do those as individual positions too. And I just group them together. So that's how we're going to do it. But I have for defensive line number 1, I do have the Jets because Quinnen Williams yes, he's a freak. And then they added Hassan Reddick, which I know he hasn't been there yet. I guess we might talk more about that later, but Jermaine Johnson, as we know, is a stud and he's going to only get better up and coming. Will McDonald, I guess you have to see more from him as a former first-round pick. Michael Clemens, their depth, I'll say, is a little questionable, but just because of how good their starters are, I can't be biased here and rank them anything less than number 1 just because of how good Reddick, Williams, and Johnson are going to be, even though I don't love Kinlaw and, Fotu and some of their, their depth again, but those 3 guys are about as good as any 3 defensive linemen in the entire division. Number 2, then I got Buffalo. And I think our D tackle position is awesome. And if you're just ranking that group as far as depth and everything, you can make a case for the Bills having the best D tackle position between Ed, a healthy Daquan, and then Dwayne Carter, Austin Johnson, and Deshaun Williams, I believe, is the other guy we picked up. So there's a lot of potential from the D tackle room. Edge is a little more questionable, but I think Greg Rousseau is going to continue his ascension. Yep. We still have Epinesa, and then I think Solomon has potential. Yep. Like, I like some of the pass rushers. Mm-hmm. Number 3, I have New England, and Judon is still a dang good player, and he's up there with the edge rushers in the league, honestly. I like Christian Barmore. He's a good player.
Yep.
Keon White and Uche, some other decent pieces there. So I like what they have overall. Miami, I think there's just some question marks because you look at Chop Robinson. He could be a good, edge setter, and so could Mo Kamara, but they are rookies with question marks. Then you have Phillips and Chubb coming off of injuries. So they may not be, fully ready for the season. And as we've seen from some of our own players, it can take time to come back, from soft tissue injuries like that. So, and then they obviously lost Wilkins, and we don't know how Sealer's going to play without him. Right now, their other starting defensive tackle next to him is Neville Gallimore. I mean, they do have Benito Jones and Tyler Tart, which I think were decent pickups, but those aren't great players. So that's why Miami number 4.
Yeah, that's that's a good way to end on, Ben, because now it's my turn, and because I am different. Yeah, I am also putting Miami at dead absolute last in this positional ranking, because let's be completely honest, I think they paid the wrong guy. Remember, they let Christian Wilkins go because they gave Zach Seiler the bag. Now, I'm not saying Zach Seiler's a bad player. I think Zach Seiler is actually a pretty good player. But would you really rather have Seiler by himself or
No.
Wilkins by himself? I'd much rather have Christian Wilkins, because he was just an absolute force
Right.
to be
You can
reckoned with on the
always
front.
draft another big defensive,
And they
guy.
kind of did when they drafted. Is Chop that big? I mean,
No, he's a linebacker, edge rusher, but they could
okay,
have
so
drafted someone like um it was a pretty deep. I don't know, did the Dolphins have a second round pick this year or no?
I don't think
Yes, they
so.
did. They
Oh,
took
they did,
Patrick
right, yeah.
Paul.
Yeah,
So
right,
I'd have
Patrick
to go
Paul.
back and look
I
at
forgot.
the draft, but there was a run on defensive linemen. They could have potentially got it. Chris Jenkins. I think the Bengals may have picked ahead of them. Maybe Michael Hall could have been available. I think Cleveland got him. I mean, but there was guys to take in the defensive line. So if you were to resign Wilkins, you could have paired him with a big guy, to plug up the middle and, essentially just take on double teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it too. But if I'm being completely honest with you, I still don't really think they have a very good room in terms of defensive end outside of literally Seiler. I mean, they got a lot of unproven names. It's a lot of good potential, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
there's a lot of very unproven names here that I think are going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot of question marks when it comes to Miami's defensive front, and we're just going to have to see exactly how they can do when it comes down to game time. But I had Miami at the bottom. I also don't think I think the Patriots room is pretty good, but it's better because of Judon. If we're gonna rank them as a whole, which is what you said you wanted to do, right, Ben? You wanted to rank it a defensive line and linebacking unit.
No, defensive line and defensive tackle unit.
Oh, okay. So the whole defensive line. Okay, I got you.
Yep,
So we're
defensive
not
line.
okay. Yeah. So my point still stands. I think the Patriots are just a little bit better, but after that, then I have the Bills and then the Jets. You know, Quinnen Williams is just an absolute freak, and then pains me every time I have to think of this, but Jermaine Johnson being an absolute stud on the Jets. Yet another one of my favorite Florida State players of the past is a Jet, and I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
Please, can the Jets find some way to jet and trade him to where I can actually feel good to root for him again? It's bad enough that he's there, but now they draft Jordan Travis to be their
Right?
literal future after Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to hate the Jets? How am I actually supposed to hate the Jets? Like, how? How do I do this? Ben, how do I do this? I can't hate Jordan Travis. I just literally can't. With all the crap that he went through in last college season, I mean, I can't hate him anymore. I just can't. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him win a ring, even if it does mean he has to win one with the Jets. I'll puke later. But anyway, Paul,
I don't
take
think
it away.
I don't think there's much disagreement on my end with your guys'. I think mine I believe it ranks 1 through 4 the same way as you guys. Jets 1, Bills 2, Dolphins 3, Patriots 4. I think.
No, we had the Patriots 3, Dolphins 4.
Yeah, Dolphins
Oh,
don't have
okay. So
anybody other than Seiler. If they had
Yeah.
Wilkins but not Seiler,
And,
then I
and
would have
you
probably
can
said, okay,
I
there's a
just got to
case.
see it from Robinson and Kamara. I'm not going to be able to count on Phillips or Chubb this season. I trust Judon and Uche more. And Barmore's a pretty underrated player. And we can't forget Keon White was a second round pick last year, so he's only going to get better as well. We'll see what OJ Mayo cooks up this season with that defensive line too. So are we going to move on then to linebackers?
Absolutely, we are,
All
because this
right.
is the part where it's about to get real fun. Ben, start us off.
So this one I don't think should be that controversial either. I think the Bills linebacking core is the best in the division, and it's actually one of the best in the league, if we're being honest. And it only got better, in my opinion, because you're going to get a second-year Terrell Bernard. Third-year Terrell Bernard. Dorian Williams should take a second-year leap. I think Balin Spector is another interesting piece. Obviously, a healthy Matt Milano is going to make a world of a difference. I love the Edu Olu. Do you know how to pronounce his name, Connor? I don't even want to try to botch it, but I love that draft pick. They signed Deion Jones and was it Nick Morrow too? So they have some other interesting depth pieces with starting experience. But obviously, just with the top two, it's got to be one. And then I think Dorian Williams has a lot of upside and potential. Number 2, I'm going Jets because they actually have kind of similar to Buffalo. Well, actually not similar because they do technically have more all pros than us because Terrell Bernard absolutely got robbed. But I do got to give credit to Quincy Williams because he still had a good season. CJ Mosley's a former All-Pro. He's still playing well. And then obviously they have some interesting depth pieces between Zaire Barnes, Jamie and Sherwood, Chaz Surratt, but they just have a better overall linebacking core than the other teams. Maybe the depth isn't there, but their starters are very, very, very solid. Number 3, I have the Dolphins, and the Dolphins, I don't think they're actually that far behind the Jets overall. Maybe I would actually say there's a little bit of a gap, but I think they're above league average. I think Brooks and Long can be a solid duo. And then there's some interesting depth pieces like Walker Jr. and Duke Riley, and of course Channing Tindall. So
another one wasted by Vic Fangio.
I mean, the Dolphins have some interesting names, but I just don't think the top 2 are as good. Yeah, I still take Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley above Jordan Brooks and David Long Jr. And then New England is just kind of like who? Jelani Tavai, Jawan Bentley, Sion Taki, and Raekwon McMillan. That's like the only name I recognize.
No, I recognize Taki from his time with the Browns. He wasn't really that good. He was kind of mid.
Yeah. And then Christian Ellis and Joe Giles Harris for depth. So again, who?
Only one out of all of them I can remember is Taki. But anyway, to the linebacking room we go. And I am going to start off as always with the worst, and that's the Patriots for the same exact reason. Who? Out of all these people, other than Matthew Judon, I'm pretty sure Matthew
Which
Judon.
who we classified in the D line for this purposes.
Exactly. So out of all of the other linebackers, you just look at it and go, wait, who? I mean,
right.
Taki really did have some good moments with the Browns. I mean, he definitely is a guy with a lot of potential for sure, but in terms of everything else, just like who really stands out among the entire crowd of their linebacking room? Nobody I can think of. And to be completely honest, it's the same. It really is kind of the same with the Jets. I look at that linebacker room and I go, out of all these guys, who out here is really like going to scare anybody? And it really doesn't seem like it's anybody of note, at least in my opinion. So I would have to definitely put them third on the list because second on the list is Miami, and that's because Jalen Phillips is him and Bradley Chubb is him. But I will admit, obviously, coming off of injury, especially with his,
Hold on. We were classifying those with the D linemen because edge rushers we're not counting with the linebackers. We're just doing like off-ball linebackers.
Oh, okay. Well, if you wanted to put it that way, then yeah, I probably could have ranked the Dolphins a little higher on my edge rusher list or on my defensive line list then because of Phillips and Chubb. I just think of them as linebackers. But
well,
yeah,
I mean, they're coming off injury. Like you saw what Von Miller did. You've seen what Carl Lawson did coming off a torn Achilles. Like I don't like healthy. Those guys are very, very good. I mean, if those guys were healthy, I would have had Miami higher as well.
Oh yeah,
but
I mean, Jalen Phillips.
I'm not counting on any of those guys this season, really.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips, maybe when healthy, is probably the best in the entire division at his position. But obviously, in terms of a whole position group, we have the Bills at number one for me. I don't think much more needs to be said that you hadn't already said, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just got a bunch of goats, and along the whole line. Like I said, for sake of time, I won't say anything else. I'll just let Paul take it away because we got one more group after this.
All right. So my position group of
Paul, your mic is eating itself.
Yeah.
What?
Your mic is trying
Sounds
to kill
like
itself.
You're an alien or something.
Yeah, for real. What are you, from Mars?
I don't mean to.
Yeah, your mic is like dying.
It doesn't sound like that. Oh boy.
Yeah. You sound like you really do sound like an alien almost.
All right, you guys scared the show. I'll come back in and come back out and give you my list. You guys move on to special teams.
Okay.
All right, yeah, good. I'm muting
him.
I'm muting Paul so his alien voice can't kill my mic anymore or my ears.
All right.
But special teams, this is going to be a really fun one.
Special teams, special players, special plays. Let's take this one away.
Oh, man.
So
do it, man. Do it.
Number one, this might be a little surprising, but the New York Jets, you look right, and I'm you. But the Jets, if you look at what Thomas Morstead did, especially with the amount of times he had to punt last year, it was pretty dang impressive, especially given his age. Greg the Leg is him. He's made some clutch kick after clutch kick.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be fair to say, I don't know if he's the best kicker in the division because I honestly might take the Miami kicker. His name is Jason Sanders. I think Jason Sanders might be the best overall kicker, but I think kicker, punter, then the rest of the combo plus returner. We saw what Xavier Gibson could do. I hate to say it, but on that Monday night game, he's kind of an electric returner. So I got the Jets as the top unit. Miami, I am kind of reconsidering the ranking now after thinking the play that happened, Bills Dolphins. That was a good punt, but the coverage wasn't great. So I don't know if I can actually if I can stick to these rankings I have right here. Screw it.
Are you making a change?
No, I can't because I'm looking at the Bills, Jack Browning versus Sam Martin and Tyler Bass. I can't have the Bills any higher than 3. And New England, I can't really with Chad Ryland and Bryce Behringer, but they did bring in Joey Sly. If Joey Sly beats out Chad Ryland, New England could actually move up because I think Joey Sly is a pretty good kicker. Screw it. I'm going to switch this. I feel like the special teams, honestly, overall, isn't that great top to bottom in this division. It could use some work. So this is just kind of a mid battle to me. So I'm actually gonna throw in a wild card. New England's my number 2 now.
Oh,
Buffalo 3 and Miami 4. I don't know how I came to that conclusion,
I don't
but
know how you did
I
either.
feel like just because Miami gave up the division via a punt return, I can't have them high. But the Bills, I can't have them number 2 because they lost the playoff game to the special teams. They did lose the Broncos game to special teams too, so that's another knock. But hopefully Best bounces back. Yeah, that's my rankings.
He will. I promise he will. All right. It is now my turn. And for last in the special teams unit in the AFC East, I have the Patriots. And that's not really a slight against the team as a whole either. That's mostly just because I think every special teams unit above them is actually better. I like Joey Sly as a kicker as well. I really think that he's one of those guys that you just put in position and he's gonna end games for you. But you need an offense to do that. And I don't think what offense are we talking about here? Is there an offense? I mean, I know we talked about it last week, but anyway. Third on the list is Buffalo. There's a lot of questions. We really kind of did lose in the playoffs on special teams, and it's not really the Tyler Bass kick. I mean, it's a little bit of all of it. I don't know what on earth that fake punt idea was on 4th down, but whatever is next, I don't know. Like, we need to get some work done on special teams as a whole. Second, I actually have the Jets special teams. I really do like Greg Zuerlein as a kicker. When he was with the Rams, he was really, really good.
Megatron.
Yep. Thomas Morstead, when he was with the Dolphins, was really, really good. And then Thomas Morstead is still a really good punter. Wait, yeah. Is he still with the Jets?
He came back with the Jets.
Right. I don't know why I was thinking he went back to Atlanta for whatever reason. He
never was in Atlanta.
No, he went from Atlanta to Miami, and then Miami to
New England. I thought
New
he was in New Orleans first.
I thought he was in Atlanta, but I'll have to think about that later. Might just be a case of NFC South teams getting all mixed up.
Yeah.
But anyway, my number 1 is Miami, and that's because they have Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios is literally the guy that can return all the kick returns, all the punt returns. You give him one lane and he's gone.
How many touchdowns does he have in his career returning punts?
A lot.
Actually?
Like, he's got a fair bit. I don't know exactly how many, but the thing is when he was with the Jets.
How are you sure about that? I don't know if he has any.
When he was with the Jets, you had to always make sure you covered Berrios because he was just gone if you gave him a single lane on a kick return or a punt return. Berrios is just he was never really like that receiver that you would really be scared of when he was like on the field with the traditional offense, but on special teams, he was always that guy you just went, oh, we got to watch out for him on special teams. This man's kind of a freak. But I think also Jason Sanders, Miami fans give him a little too much crap. He is a really good kicker. Yeah, I don't really know where they'd find any other good kickers if they wanted to get rid of Jason Sanders, like so many of them want to. So it's like, what do you really do at this point? Like, you can't just go get a new kicker. Like, at the end of the day, Jason Sanders is him. He's going to be him, and that's what they have to accept. He is a really good kicker, and we're moving on. Paul, if you fixed your mic and you don't sound like an alien anymore, please give us your free take on your special teams units.
As well as linebackers, too.
Yeah, and linebackers, because you forgot that.
You sound good, by the way.
Yeah. Sound better?
Yeah, you're good now. Much better.
Apparently my stream hates Google Chrome.
Oh, rip.
Apparently.
So linebackers look like this. Bills won for obvious reasons. I mean, Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard are just going to wreck the NFL for the next 5+ seasons. And then on top of that, you got Dorian Williams in the second year. And on top of that, you have
Cook.
more depth in that linebacker room. Number 2, I'm going to agree with most of you guys. The Jets, I'm going to put at number 2. I kind of
Right.
switched up from my first initial rankings. The Jets 2, Dolphins 3, and then Patriots 4. Special teams. This is interesting because obviously the Patriots have the worst special teams room. I mean,
Right.
their kicker last year couldn't even.
It was almost
couldn't
worst
kick an
pass
extra
that
point.
was possible.
Like, it was hard for Ryland to kick an extra point last year, and consistently, and kick a simple 30-yard field goal. I mean,
And they used
simple.
like a 5th or 6th round pick on Ryland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something like
that was a bad pick, if we're being honest.
It was. Bills number 3. They got a lot of work to do with Matthew Smiley, and it is what it is. Hopefully this year it's better. Hopefully Jake Browning or Sam Martin, whoever
Jack
the punter
Browning.
Jack Browning, thank you. Jack Browning and Sam Martin, whoever wins the punting job, can do better than what Sam Martin did last year. Then overall, just better coverage on special teams. Like, we were disastrous covering punts and kick returns. Number 2, I'm going to have the Dolphins, and then number 1, it's going to be Greg Zuerlein and the New York Jets.
New England Jets.
New Jersey Jets.
New England Jets.
New Jersey Jets.
New Jersey Jets at number 1.
It'd be more accurate.
More accurate. Very accurate. I mean,
definitely a fun little exercise to do. I feel like we each definitely, we had some agreements, some areas, disagreements, others, but it was interesting to see how we all kind of varied in our opinions. And we should actually post up, we should try to get our categories into like a graphic so we could post up after, just to post on Twitter and Instagram, whatnot. But that was a pretty fun little exercise. I guess, as we wrap up, media day today, the aura of this Bills team is kind of exceptional. Mandatory minicamp starts tomorrow. So football is really starting to heat up. It's exciting. And then, of course, the UFL championship is coming up. And I'll say this, how cool was it to see what Wade Phillips said about Hakeem Butler after that game? Like, just absolute class act. Wade has always been, as we know. And then Carolina reportedly already taking looks at him. So very, very cool and good for Hakeem Butler. And honestly, I've kind of been beating the Hakeem Butler to Bills drum for the last couple years. So honestly, if the Bills want to give a look at him, I won't even mind. Like, throw Chase Claypool off the island for training camp. We have enough.
Bills quarterback too.
Bring in Hakeem Butler.
Yeah, good idea. As long as it means getting rid of Chase Claypool, I'm down.
Anything
get this man off my football
getting
team.
Rid of Chase Claypool for you.
Yeah, get this man off my football team.
I'm trying to look up his UFL stats right now.
He's actually been I think the UFL Offensive Player of the Year.
45 receptions, 652 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I mean, this dude, I believe he's well over 6 foot too. And he would be he's 6'5", 227. Hakeem Butler is.
That is
he's massive. I mean, you bring that to Josh Allen in the red zone. That's
another
jump
ball weapon. I mean, he's shown some yard after catch ability. I mean, let's see. Just, I don't think it hurts for training camp or whatever. I'd like to see the NFL give some opportunity to some of these UFL guys. It could also help bring more exposure and grow the UFL. And go Battlehawks, by the way. Even though I think they actually lost.
They were eliminated on
the Browns beat them. So it's gonna be Birmingham versus San Antonio.
Yeah,
and weren't those
Birmingham
actually
versus
the
San
two
Antonio, I
champions
believe,
last year?
Saturday.
Actually, were those not the two champions last year for both?
Yeah,
back-to-back
actually,
champions. You're trying to go for a three-peat.
Good Lord.
Well, the Brahmas, I think, didn't the Brahmas win the XFL though last year? I thought they did.
I
No, that
thought
was
don't even
Arlington.
remember. I think it
who?
goes to
Oh,
show
Arlington
how
won the
Arlington.
XFL. It was Arlington.
Arlington.
I
Oh,
think it just goes to
and
show how little
Arlington's
all of
team
us
got.
watch the
Did
UFL.
Arlington have a team this year? I can't keep
Yes,
track.
they did. The
Okay.
Arlington Renegades. I believe they were like they were one of
They
the
weren't as
worst
good
teams
this
in
year.
the XFL
But they
division
weren't
this
good.
year.
I think last year they weren't that good, and they just got hot and made the playoffs barely, and then won
Yeah.
it. Yeah, we definitely should
But
brush
back
up
to Hakeem
more.
Butler
But
really quick. Back to your point when on yards after the catch, he averaged 14.5 yards after the catch.
wow,
Lord.
a guy like that should not. A guy that big should not be able to move like that.
No.
Bring him in. But that should wrap up tonight's edition of the show. Definitely if you missed part 1, make sure to go back and listen because we gave all of our rankings just like we did tonight about our offensive players. We did defensive players tonight, but go back. You can find it on all of our platforms, either YouTube. If you want to watch I think you can watch the replay of the stream. If you go to our Twitter page, it should be there. But obviously,
Yeah,
it's
just
easier
gotta
to go on
scroll just
YouTube.
a little bit.
Yeah, and then it's annoying having to watch the screen on your Twitter app. But anyways, YouTube, you could watch us on YouTube, our YouTube channel, any of our replays. But you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I believe pretty much every audio platform. So if you missed last week's episode, make sure to check that out. Also, if you're not subscribed and following us on X, make sure to, because we have done a single giveaway, but we're definitely, I think, going to be giving more stuff away as the season, gets here. Yeah, maybe the new college football game or something. Who knows? We could do something like that. I don't know. Just throwing out ideas. Nothing concrete, but make sure you're following us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And turn on notifications. Paul or Connor, anything else tonight?
Let's see.
No, nothing really. I mean,
You don't have anything?
Next week definitely touch on the Mike Tomlin extension because I feel like Connor down there, with being
The
a former
standard-
Yinzer,
The standard
he's
is
sort of
always
he's
the standard
excited.
has always been the standard and will continue to remain the standard until morale improves. And until everybody in Pittsburgh is tired of 9-8 seasons, the standard will always be the standard, and there will not be a single change. We will not live in our fears, people of Yinzerland.
Well,
That actually does remind me. I'm hoping soon on my own solo show for my spin-offs that discuss more football-related things. I hope to have other fan bases on for that as well. And I hope to have a Yinzer on there. And I hope to have a very interesting conversation with said Yinzer about the state of Yinzerland. Is Ben screen recording me right now? He's got his phone out and he's like, I gotta hear him talk about
No.
Yinzer
My bad.
constantly." That's
I'm not screen recording
hilarious.
you.
No, that's
I promise.
hilarious. No, that's still funny. I just had to laugh, but that's
I
all
was
that.
actually just
No, that's all I was.
texting someone. My bad. I don't know how I was holding it so close to
That's
the
still
camera.
hilarious. Yeah,
It
he's
is
just like,
very hilarious.
yeah, just focus right on me while I say literally
Yeah,
everything about
Yinzers.
Yinzers. Yeah,
Okay, right.
but
Anyways,
that'll do it for
that
my
should
end.
be interesting to hear about that. But that should really that should wrap everything up for tonight, I believe. So, Paul, Connor, thank you for
That's it.
watching, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.